is that there might be suggestions of other processes on the part of other commissioners, which I will welcome. I would recommend that we defer action on this renewal application until our next meeting. You know, some of the comments that were made by my fellow commissioners were that we should utilize the enforcement mechanisms available to the commission, and I concur with that completely. We have other mechanisms besides denial of renewal, which I view as quite draconian. My perspective would be that we are better off in the long term with a functioning licensee that is adhering to the diversity and impact requirements of our legislation, of our regulations, rather than shutting them down. I have spoken with the executive director, and I would hope that you would amplify my comments, Mr. Executive Director, in terms of notification actions that you can take immediately with respect to this license if we were to defer. Would you mind commenting on that, Mr. Executive Director?
I'd be hesitant to comment on enforcement actions aside from, as we've talked about a lot today, that is something that's ongoing and not related, frankly, to renewals. Is compliance is an ongoing matter and something that we as a team, as a staff, take very seriously, and utilizing any information that's supplied at any time by a licensee is something that we reserve the right to do.
So my recommendation is, again, that we defer till our next meeting, which is on August 8th. I will suggest that we move on to the next agenda item, but I will open the floor to any commissioner that wishes to make an alternative recommendation or a motion. Commissioner Title.
Thank you for holding the break. I don't necessarily agree with that analysis, but I agree with deferring consideration until the next meeting.
Are there any other objections to us moving on? Great. Let's move on to the next agenda item then, please, which is renewals for the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 medical renewal applications. Again, these are subject to the regulations that we inherited from the Department of Public Health. Our revised regulations that are now promulgated in draft form do not apply to these. They will apply subsequently if they are finalized. So, again, Mr. Executive Director, would you just remind the Commission of the process that the Department of Public Health has used previously for renewals? Bless you.
Sure. And so we've maintained that process until, as you indicated, until such time as the applications are within the portal. It's really the equivalent of a two-page form that authors or that provides or offers the licensee the ability to update any contact information that might be required, to identify the contact individual of that entity, obviously to pay their license fee, as well as some attestations that the information they provided to us is in fact correct, and that they ensure the accuracy of that information. And again, it's also accompanied by the payment of the annual license fee.
Okay, thank you. So, not learning from previous failure, I will request that we vote on these as a roster, unless there are any concerns on any of the individual applications. Commissioner Title. As I said, I'm not real smart in terms of learning from previous experience.
I have just one comment for all of them. I'm okay with voting as a roster.
Please go ahead.
But you never know. It's very unpredictable.
No, one of the things about the open meeting law is I walk in these meetings and I never know what's going to happen. That's absolutely right.
I just have one question. So, and this may already be available, and maybe I missed it. It's hard to navigate these compared to the ones in our system. But 500.101F, an RMD must have a program to provide reduced cost or free marijuana to patients with documented verified financial hardship. If we don't already, can we just ask for that information as a condition?
Okay. So any other comments before I ask for a motion to approve the roster with subject to the condition requested by Commissioner Title? Okay, great. So I'm going to ask for a motion. I'll read out all of the license numbers, but I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the renewal for the following 8 licenses, subject to the condition requested by Commissioner Title: RMD 1245, RMD 845. There's no number here. Ipswich Pharmaceutical Associates Vertically Integrated Medical Marijuana Treatment Center, RMD 425, Mayflower Medicinals Vertically Integrated Medical Marijuana Treatment Center, Wellness Connection of Massachusetts Incorporated Vertically Integrated Medical Marijuana Treatment Center, RMD 1127, RMD 1105. May I have a motion to approve the renewal of all 8 of those licenses, subject to the condition requested by Commissioner Title? Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Let the record show Commissioner Flanagan made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Doyle. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let the record show that the Commission unanimously approved those 8 renewals. Thank you very much, subject to the condition requested by Commissioner Title. Thank you. Next on the agenda, our change of location. I think that we probably need a little guidance on this, Mr. Executive Director. They're not all identical in terms of changing, so if you could just walk us through this briefly, I'd appreciate that.
Sure. So a process that's available to licensees in both adult use as well as medical is the ability to change the location of their entity. We've provided for an application on the Commission's website. And again, this is something that traverses both the adult use as well as the medical use programs. The reason this is coming before the Commission for your consideration is several-fold, actually. First off, to provide adequate public notice to both the community within which it is currently located as well as the community within which it intends to be located. But also this is something that the Commission can or may authorize at your discretion. And so the information we do try to capture on this application is what is the current location of that entity, what is your proposed location of that entity, and have you secured a host community agreement with your intended or future location, and also seeking a municipal response to confirm that as well, that the community within which it intends to be located is in fact aware of that and comfortable as far as their compliance with local zoning and bylaws and such. So a pretty, I think, straightforward application. That said,
Yes.
something that does require Commission approval.
Fantastic. Thank you. Are there any questions on the process before we go through each of these individually? Great. So let's start with Heal Incorporated MTC provisional license for cultivation and processing. Any questions or comments before I ask for a motion to approve the change of location request? Can I have a motion then to approve the change of location request for Heal Incorporated?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Let the record show Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner McBride. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the change of location request for Heal Incorporated. Second, Ipswich Pharmaceutical Associates Incorporated, which is an MTC provisional license for cultivation and processing. Can I have a motion to approve their change of location request? Can I have a second?
Second.
Let the record show Commissioner Flanagan made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Doyle. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the change of location request for Ipswich Pharmaceutical Associates. Third, Nature's Remedy of Massachusetts, also MTC provisional license cultivation and processing. May I have a motion to approve the change of location request?
So moved. Second.
And let the record show Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Flanagan. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the change of location request for Nature's Remedy of Massachusetts Incorporated. Also Nature's Remedy of Massachusetts Incorporated, RMD 1285, which is MTC provisional license cultivation and processing. Can I have a motion to approve the change of location request, please? Can I have a second, please? Let the record show Commissioner Flanagan made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner McBride. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show that the Commission unanimously approved the change of request for RMD 1285. Finally, Nature's Remedy of Massachusetts Incorporated, MPC provisional license dispensing. Can I have a motion to approve the change of location request?
So moved.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Let the record show Commissioner Flanagan made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Doyle. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the location, change of location request for Nature's Remedy of Massachusetts MTC provisional license dispensing. Thank you. Now we get back to kind of like the normal part of our agenda, which is final and provisional licenses. Mr. Potvin, can you lead us through, starting with Alternative Therapies Group Incorporated, MR 281344 Retail?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you stated, the licensee here is Alternative Therapies Group. The location is 107 Elm Street in Salisbury, Mass. The final license being sought is a retail license. As you can see now, the executive summary does list all of the other applications, licenses, for both the adult and medical operations for your consideration. This licensee for the Salisbury location was issued a provisional license on September 20th of 2019. It has paid all applicable license fees. There has been no new information reported to Commission staff regarding the organizational structure of the entity. There also has been no new information regarding suitability of the licensee. The initial inspection took place at this facility on May 7th. The licensee's establishment was inspected and found to be in full compliance with the Commission's regulations. No evidence was discovered during the inspection that indicated the establishment was not in compliance with local ordinances or bylaws. Specific areas that were inspected during this inspection were security features and compliance with security requirements, inventory and storage requirements, their retail operation, including the nature of the fact that they are co-located. Their transportation operations are managed from their Amesbury location. Therefore, Commission staff do recommend issuing a final license with the conditions before you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Potvin. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, then can I ask for a motion to approve the staff recommendation to issue a final license to Alternative Therapies Group Incorporated, MR 281344 Retail?
So moved.
Can I have a second, please? Let the record show that Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner McBride. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Commissioner Title?
Abstain.
Let the record show that the Commission approved the staff recommendation to issue a final license to Alternative Therapies Group Incorporated, MR 281344 Retail, with a vote of 4 in favor. Commissioners McBride, Doyle, Hoffman, and Flanagan. Commissioner Title abstained. Thank you. Next, Mr. Potvin, 3 for Healthy Farms Incorporated, all co-located, if I'm correct. So we'll have 1 discussion and 3 votes. Mr. Potvin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you stated, the licensee here is Healthy Farms Incorporated. The proposed location of the licensee is 401 East Main Street in Georgetown, Mass. The 3 final licenses being sought are that of a Tier 4 indoor cultivation license, product manufacturing license, and a retail license. This applicant is not an applicant for any other marijuana establishment license. They have currently 2 medical marijuana treatment centers that have commenced operations in Georgetown and Cambridge. The licensee here was issued provisional licenses on March 7th of 2019. They have paid all of their applicable license fees. There's been no new information reported to staff regarding the organizational structure of this entity. Additionally, there's been no new information regarding suitability of the licensee. The initial inspection took place at this facility on May 14th of 2019, and the Commission investigators did find that the establishment was in full compliance with the Commission's regulations. And there was also no indication that the establishment was not in compliance with local ordinances or bylaws. Specific areas that were inspected during these inspections include security features and security requirements, inventory and storage requirements, their cultivation operation, product manufacturing operation, retail operation, and transportation operations. Therefore, Commission staff do recommend issuing final licenses with the conditions before you.
Thank you, Mr. Potvin. Are there questions or concerns? Commissioner McBride?
I had a question for Mr. Potvin. When we approved the provisional license on March 7th, we put a condition on relative to more information about the types of products they're going to be manufacturing. Did they comply with that condition?
They did. Commission investigators, when they went out, part of their process between provisional licensure and final licensure is to ensure that they've complied with all of the provisional licensure conditions, including the condition that Commissioner McBride spoke about. Their initial list of products that they plan on producing was significantly reduced, and I believe they are only producing 1 specific edible where they were specific about the type and form of the edible. But yes, they did comply with it.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Then again, we'll do 3 separate votes on this, starting with Healthy Farms Incorporated, MC 281631, Tier 4 Indoor Cultivation. May I ask for a motion to approve the staff recommendation to issue a final license?
So moved.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
I'll let the record show Commissioner Flanagan made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Doyle. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Commissioner Title?
Abstain.
Let the record show that the Commission approved the staff recommendation to issue a final license to Healthy Farms Incorporated, MC 281631, Tier 4 Indoor Cultivation, by a vote of 4 in favor. Commissioners McBride, Doyle, Hoffman, and Flanagan, with Commissioner Title abstaining. Let me next ask for a motion to approve the staff recommendation to issue a final license to Healthy Farms Incorporated, MP 281450, Product Manufacturing. May I have such a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Let the record show Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Flanagan. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Commissioner Title?
Abstain.
Let the record show that the Commission approved the staff recommendation to issue a final license to Healthy Farms Incorporated, MP 281450, Product Manufacturing, by a vote of 4 in favor. Commissioners McBride, Doyle, Hoffman, and Flanagan, with Commissioner Title abstaining. Let me next ask for a motion to approve the staff recommendation to issue a final license to Healthy Farms Incorporated, MR 281754, for retail. May May I have such a motion, please? Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Let the record show Commissioner McBride made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Doyle. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation to issue a final license to Healthy Farms Incorporated, MR 281754 Retail. Thank you. Next up, Mr. Potvin, Theory Wellness Incorporated, MC 281928, Tier 6 Outdoor Cultivation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you stated, the licensee here is Theory Wellness Incorporated. They are located at 237 Bow Wow Road in Sheffield, Mass. The final license being sought here is a Tier 6 outdoor cultivation license. The licensee was approved for provisional licensure by the Commission on April 4th of 2019. They have paid all their applicable license fees. There has been no new information regarding the organizational structure of the entity, and there also has been no new information reported to staff regarding the suitability of the licensee. The initial inspection took place at this facility on May 16th of 2019. It was inspected, and Commission staff did find that it was in full compliance with the Commission's regulations. There was no information during the inspection that indicated that the establishment was not in full compliance with local ordinances or bylaws. Specific information and area that was inspected during these inspections include security features and requirements, inventory and storage requirements, their cultivation operation, and as they are allowed to transport marijuana, this licensee will not be performing transportation operations from this location. Therefore, Commission staff do recommend issuing a final license with the conditions before you.
Thank you, Mr. Potvin. Are there questions or comments? Then please could I ask for a motion to approve the staff recommendation to issue a final license to Theory Wellness Incorporated, MC 281928, Tier 6 Outdoor Cultivation? Can I have a second? Let the record show Commissioner McBride made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Flanagan. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation to issue a final license to Theory Wellness Incorporated, MC 281928, Tier 6 Outdoor Cultivation. Thank you. Finally, we have a vertically integrated medical marijuana treatment center, Sanctuary Medicinals Incorporated, MRD 1128. Mr. Potvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you stated, the licensee here is Sanctuary Medicinals Incorporated. The cultivation and product manufacturing operations will take place at 234 Taylor Street in Littleton, Mass. Their dispensary operation will take place at 130 Commerce Way in Woburn, Mass. The licensee here was issued a provisional license on December 9th of 2016. They have paid...
Not a typo, huh?
The 2016?
Yeah.
No, it's not a typo. The licensee has paid all their applicable license fees. No new information has been reported to Commission staff regarding the organizational structure of the entity. Additionally, there's been no additional information regarding the suitability of the licensee. The initial inspection took place at this facility on May 28th of 2019. The licensee's center was inspected and found to be in full compliance with the Commission's regulations. There was no information indicated that the center was not in compliance with applicable state and local codes, bylaws, laws, ordinances, and regulations. Areas that were inspected during this operation include security features and requirements, inventory and storage requirements, as the cultivation operation and product manufacturing operation have previously been given approval to commence operations under additional licenses. They were not additionally inspected under this license at this time. Their dispensing operation in Woburn was inspected and found to be in full compliance with the Commission's regulations, as well as their transportation operations. Therefore, Commission staff do recommend issuing a final license with the conditions before you.
Thank you, Mr. Potvin. Are there questions or comments? Then may I ask, please, for a motion to approve the staff recommendation to issue a final license to Sanctuary Medicinals Incorporated, RMD 1128, Vertically Integrated Medical Marijuana Treatment Center? Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Let the record show Commissioner Flanagan made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Doyle. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation for Sanctuary Medicinals Incorporated, RMD 1128, Vertically Integrated Medical Marijuana Treatment Center. Thank you, Mr. Potvin. You want a 2-second break before we jump into provisional licenses? Are you ready to go?
I'm always ready to serve.
Thank you. I both note that and appreciate that. So we've got 6. I'm going to make a suggestion, however, on the first of these, and I apologize to the principals if I'm mispronouncing it. Is it Crippies or Crippies?
I have pronounced it as Crippies.
Okay. I got it right? I'm going to suggest that we push this back in the agenda. We'll do it today, but these are the same principles that our reconsideration is about, and I just think it'd be probably better to juxtapose it. So if that's okay with everybody, I'm going to... that would be my recommendation. I don't think there's any downside in doing that, so I'm gonna skip that. We're gonna do it. It's the next one up. It's the next agenda item, so it's just gonna be the last agenda item here. It'll be the last of the 6 here. We'll do it in this section, but it's gonna be the last of the 6. I'd like to ask Mr. Potvin to talk about Nature's Medicines Incorporated. I have formerly known as, and another one I'm going to have a hard time with, Ziphius Wellness, MRN 282482, retail. Mr. Potvin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you stated, the applicant here is Nature's Medicine Incorporated. The proposed location is 3119 Cranberry Highway in Wareham, Mass. The license being sought here is a retail license. The applicant is a licensee for both adult use and medical use operations. They have a Tier 4 cultivation license, that's a provisional license in Uxbridge, retail provisional license in Uxbridge, a retail provisional license in Fall River, and 3 medical marijuana treatment centers in various states. The individuals associated with this application include David Brayton, Jigakumar Patel, Jerry Wilson, Michael Hassenberg, and Stephen Borges. One entity other than the establishment itself is associated with this application, and that includes Globe Street Management. This applicant is MTC priority applicant. They did execute a host community agreement on November 26th of 2018. They did conduct a community outreach meeting also on November 26th of 2018. We did receive a municipal response from the municipality on July 10th of 2019 stating that the applicant was in compliance with local ordinances and bylaws. The applicant submitted a positive impact plan, which included the following initiatives: institute hiring practices that will prioritize the hiring of individuals from disproportionate areas with a focus on Fall River. And secondly, volunteer 16 hours per year to support Citizens for Citizens Incorporated, which is a nonprofit. There were no concerns arising from the background checks on any of the individuals or entities associated with this application. There were some disclosures. However, none of these disclosures raised any suitability issues. The applicant states that it could be operational within 4 months of receiving its provisional license. The applicant did submit a diversity plan, which included the following initiatives: host industry-specific training sessions for minorities every April and October, and additionally host industry-specific training sessions for women every January and July. As this is a retail application, they did submit a plan for obtaining marijuana and marijuana products. Therefore, Commission staff do recommend issuing a provisional license with the conditions before you.
Thank you, Mr. Potvin. Are there questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Flanagan?
Mr. Chairman, I have concerns with the positive impact plan. One, I just would like some more clarification. It says that if they self-identify as a Fall River resident, isn't a name and address already on an application? So I'm asking how else they would self-identify as a Fall River resident. So I'd like some clarification as if they're going to have to prove with more documentation if that's the case and what that is. And secondly, it says in case that we're not meeting our commitments, they will donate money to organizations. I think there needs to be an alternative in place of that.
More specificity?
No, my thing has always been, you don't get to just not fulfill your obligations and then write a check to an organization. So if they could submit an alternative plan.
Thank you. Any other concerns, questions? Anybody else? Okay, great. Then I'd like to ask, please, for a motion to approve the recommendation to issue a provisional license to Nature's Medicines Incorporated, formerly known as Ziphius Wellness, MRN 282482 retail, subject to conditions requested by Commissioner Flanagan.
So moved.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Let the record show that Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Tidal. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let the record show that Commissioner unanimously approved the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Nature's Medicines Incorporated, formerly known as Ziphius Wellness, MRN 282482 retail, subject to the conditions requested by Commissioner Flanagan. Thank you. Next up is Pure Oasis LLC, MRN 281352 retail. Mr. Potvin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you stated, the applicant here is Pure Oasis LLC. The proposed location is 430 Blue Hill Avenue in Boston, Mass. The license being sought here is a retail license. This applicant is not an applicant or licensee for any other marijuana establishment or MTC license. The individuals associated with this application include Kobe Evans and Kevin Hart. This applicant is an economic empowerment priority applicant. The applicant executed a host community agreement on February 7th of 2019. They conducted a community outreach meeting on January 22nd of 2019. And the commission did receive a municipal response from the city of Boston on April 18th, 2019, July 12th of 2019, stating that to the best of their knowledge, the applicant is in compliance with local ordinances. The applicant submitted a positive impact plan, which includes the following initiatives: reduce barriers to entry in the adult use cannabis market with a focus on individuals of disproportionate impact, provide mentoring, professional, and technical assistance for individuals and businesses facing obstacles, and third, provide ongoing social and economic practices in the cannabis industry. There were no concerns arising from the background checks on any of the individuals and entities associated with this application. There also were none of the usual disclosures. The applicant states that it could be operational within 3 months of receiving its provisional license. The applicant submitted a diversity plan which included the following goals: host quarterly job fairs with a focus on attracting minorities, women, veterans, people with disabilities, and people of all gender identities and sexual orientations, and additionally providing ongoing training and/or mentorship programs for individuals who fall into that same group of category of individuals. As this is a retail application, they did submit a plan for obtaining marijuana or marijuana products. Therefore, Commission staff do recommend issuing a provisional license with the conditions before you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Potvin. Are there questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner Flanagan.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like some clarification in more detail about their community outreach program that they're going to utilize for hiring preferences. I'm just concerned that it says local community groups, newspapers, radio, and social media, how they're going to decipher someone over 21 versus under 21 in their advertising model.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to add a condition that they add measurable goals to their diversity plan.
Great. Thank you. Anything else? Then I'd like to ask for a motion, please, to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Pure Oasis LLC, MRN 281352, retail, subject to conditions requested by Commissioners Flanagan and Tidal. Can I have such a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Let the record show that Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Tidal. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Pure Oasis LLC, MRN 281352, retail, subject to conditions requested by Commissioners Flanagan and Tidal. Thank you. It's obviously important to just take a pause here and notice two things. One is this is our first economic empowerment license, provisional license accepted. Second, I believe, tell me if I'm wrong, this is also the first provisional license issued in the City of Boston. So on both of those fronts, but particularly importantly on the first one, it's an important milestone. I'm extraordinarily proud of all of us to have gotten to this point, but I also want to reinforce what all of us know. We are just beginning. We have a lot of work to do here, but it's a great milestone, and I'm really proud of all of us. So thank you. And to Pure Oasis LLC, I wish you the best of luck. And next up, Silver Therapeutics Incorporated, MPN 281331, product manufacturing. Mr. Potvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you stated, the applicant here is Silver Therapeutics Incorporated. The proposed location is 158 Governor Dukakis Drive in Orange, Mass. The license being sought here is a product manufacturing license. The individuals associated with this application include Joshua Silva, Brandon McKee, Joshua Ferranto, and Michael Evanusa. This applicant was an MTC priority applicant. They did execute a host community agreement on February 21st of 2018. They conducted a community outreach meeting on November 18th of 2018. The commission did receive a municipal response on July 10th stating that the applicant was in compliance with local ordinances or bylaws. The applicant submitted a positive impact plan which included the following: advertise employment opportunities and publications within Greenfield, Amherst, and Holyoke for its hiring initiatives that are designed to attract individuals from areas of disproportionate impact. And secondly, host a job fair 2 times a year in Greenfield, Amherst, or Holyoke. There were no concerns arising from the background checks on any of the individuals or entities. There were some disclosures, however, none of these disclosures resulted in a suitability issue. The applicant states that it could be operational within 5 months of receiving its provisional license. The applicant submitted a diversity plan which included the following initiatives: advertise job openings in Greenfield and Amherst, which have the largest and most diverse populations, and secondly, participate in job fairs that focus on minorities and women on an ongoing basis. As this is a product manufacturing license, they did submit a list of the proposed products that they plan on producing. Therefore, Commission staff do recommend issuing a provisional license with the conditions before you.
Thank you, Mr. Potvin. Are there comments or questions? Commissioner McBride.
I'd like to add a condition that they provide more detail on food, oil, and beverages that they plan on producing, please.
Thank you. Any other, Commissioner Title?
I'd like to add a condition that they add measurable goals to their diversity plan.
Anything else? Okay, great. Thank you. I'd like to ask, please, then, for a motion to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Silver Therapeutics Incorporated, MPN 281331, product manufacturing, subject to the conditions requested by Commissioners McBride and Title.
So moved.
Have a second, please.
Second.
I'll let the record show Commissioner Flanagan made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Doyle. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Silver Therapeutics Incorporated, MPN 281331, product manufacturing, subject to conditions requested by Commissioner Title and Commissioner McBride. Next are two for Haven Center co-located, so we'll have one discussion and two votes. First, Haven Center Incorporated, MCN 282072, Tier 2 indoor cultivation, and the Haven Center Incorporated, MPN 281639, product manufacturing. Mr. Potvin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you stated, the applicant is the Haven Center Incorporated. The proposed location is 3065 Cranberry Highway in Wareham, Mass. The two licenses being sought are that of a Tier 2 indoor cultivation license and a product manufacturing license. The individuals associated with this establishment include Christopher Talamus, Jill Talamus, Seth Brock, James Earhart, and James Barnes. There are no entities other than the applicant that appear to have direct or indirect authority over this establishment. This applicant is an MTC priority applicant. They did execute a host community agreement on March 21st of 2019. They conducted a community outreach meeting on April 11th of 2019. The commission did receive a municipal response on July 10th and also July 11th stating that the applicant was in compliance with local ordinances and bylaws. The applicant submitted a positive impact plan, which includes the following initiatives: donate a minimum of $5,000 on an annual basis to the Flint Neighborhood Association located in Fall River, and additionally participate in quarterly employee volunteer days. There were no concerns arising from the background checks on the individuals or entities associated with this application. There were also none of the usual disclosures. The applicant states that it could be operational within a year and a half of receiving its provisional license. The applicant submitted a diversity plan, which includes the following initiatives: increase the number of individuals falling into the designated demographics working in the establishment and providing tools to ensure their success. Additionally, provide access for and assisting individuals falling into designated demographics to achieve their goal of entering the adult-use marijuana industry. As this is a cultivation and product manufacturing license being sought, they did submit a cultivation plan. They also did submit a list of products that they plan on producing. Therefore, Commission staff do recommend issuing a provisional license with the conditions before you.
Thank you, Mr. Potvin. Are there any concerns or questions with respect to staff recommendation? Commissioner McBride?
I would like to put a condition on that we receive additional detail about products.
For the product manufacturing license. Any other, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, then let me ask, please, for a motion to approve the staff recommendation for the Haven Center Incorporated, MCN 282072, Tier 2 indoor cultivation.
So moved.
Have a
Second.
Let the record show Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Flanagan. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show the Commission unanimously approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to the Haven Center Incorporated, MCN 282072, Tier 2 indoor cultivation. Thank you. Let me next ask for a motion to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to the Haven Center Incorporated, MPN 281639, product manufacturing, subject to the condition requested by Commissioner McBride.
So moved.
Second.
Let the record show that Commissioner Flanagan made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Doyle. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let the record show this, the Commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to the Haven Center Incorporated, MPN 281639, product manufacturing. Thank you. Now, let's, as I said, I just wanted to leave Cripes to the end of the section. So can we talk about Mr. Potvin, Cripes LLC, MRN 281594, retail?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you stated, the applicant here is Cripes LLC.
I'm sorry, it's Cripes? It is Cripes. My apologies. I'm truly sorry. I'll try to get that right going forward. Cripes.
The proposed location is 1450 East Street, Suite 2 in Pittsfield, Mass. The license being sought here is a retail license. The individual associated with this application is Tim Mack as owner and partner. List of required entities that have an interest in this establishment other than the applicant itself is Berkshire Hydroponics as an investor. This applicant is a general applicant. They did execute a host community agreement on June 5th of 2018. They conducted a community outreach meeting on May 15th of 2018. We did receive a municipal response from the municipality on April 12th of 2019 stating the applicant was in compliance with local ordinances and bylaws. The applicant submitted a positive impact plan, which included the following initiatives: educate individuals 21 years of age or older from Pittsfield, North Adams, and the surrounding area on hydroponic method of farming and/or gardening for the cultivation of cannabis. And secondly, donate a minimum of $5,000 to Bio of Berkshire County. The organization has been contacted and is willing to accept this donation. There were no concerns arising from the background checks on the individuals or entities associated with this application. There were also none of the usual disclosures. The applicant states that it could be operational within 2 months of receiving its provisional license. The applicant submitted a diversity plan, which included the following initiatives: recruit and hire minorities, women, veterans, people with disabilities, and people of all gender identities and sexual orientations. Provide individuals with the tools to ensure their success and pathways to grow within the company and cannabis industry. And contract with businesses owned by minorities, women, veterans, people with disabilities, and people of all gender identities and sexual orientations for necessary products and services. As this is a retail application, they did submit a plan for obtaining marijuana and marijuana products. Therefore, Commission staff do recommend issuing a provisional license with the conditions before you.
Thank you, Mr. Potvin.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Flanagan.
Mr. Chairman, I would just like some clarification with regards to the plan to put press releases and flyers on college campuses. My concern is that there's an underage population in those areas, and how could you possibly put them in areas where they wouldn't see them?
Great, thank you. Commissioner Title?
Two things. One, I'd like to add a condition to add measurable goals to the diversity plan. And then secondly, I don't necessarily have a strong feeling about this, but I'm not familiar with the term crippies, but I'm wondering if that has been evaluated as a possible colloquial reference to marijuana.
It should have been. I don't know if it's, I don't think it has any
Should-
colloquial references, but I would.
Should we
yield to
state that as a
anybody's
condition?
interpretation.
Why don't we keep that as a condition? Okay.
sorry.
So I'll ask for a motion, including the condition that we check
We
into that.
evaluate that? Okay.
Anything else?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner Doyle.
I'd like to amend condition number 1, just to add highlight conditioner
Condition
on the recommendation.
Yeah, sorry.
Currently, it states final license is subject to inspection to ascertain compliance with commission regulations. I'd like to add at the end, including but not limited to a thorough review of operating policies and procedures, just to highlight that there is some additional detail required
Are you suggesting that just for this provisional application?
for this
Okay, that's fine.
particular applicant.
Okay. Is there anything else? Any other comments or questions? Okay, so I'll see if I've tracked this correctly. So I would like to ask for a motion to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Crippies LLC, MRN 281594, retail, subject to the conditions requested by Commissioner Flanagan with respect to the distribution of flyers. The two conditions requested by Commissioner Title: one is specificity on their diversity plan. Second is investigation into any colloquial meaning of the word Crippies. And then finally, Commissioner Doyle's suggestion or request that we add specificity to condition 1 in the staff recommendation. Can I have such a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Let the record show that Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Title. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the issuance of provisional license to Crippies LLC, MRN 281594, retail, subject to the conditions articulated. Thank you. And Mr. Potvin, thank you for, as always, your yeomanship and your willingness to go as long as it takes. I appreciate it. The next agenda item is a first for us, which is staff recommendations with respect to reconsideration of a previously denied license. I would like to ask our general counsel to offer thoughts on the process here. I know you've spoken with at least most of the commissioners with respect to that, but I'd appreciate it if you just give your perspective on the process and what has preceded us getting to this point and what happens next. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As a general matter, Massachusetts courts.
I think you probably need to be a little closer to your microphone.
I need to put it on.
And it needs to be turned on.
There you go. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As a general matter, Massachusetts courts have recognized that administrative agencies have the authority to reconsider its decisions. This would include but not be limited to a decision on, say, for example, an initial application for licensure or a decision on an application to renew a license. Given this general authority, we recommend that the commission adopt a process by which it can reconsider its decisions and delegate to staff the process, at least in the initial instance, of reviewing requests for reconsideration and the materials submitted in support of those requests. In a minute, I'll defer to the executive director on describing a bit about that process. While we make this recommendation, and again, this is a joint staff recommendation, we do suggest that the commission limit the instances in which reconsideration is at issue. For example, we do recommend that the scope of reconsideration be limited to the basis of the commission's decision. For example, when the commission makes a determination to deny a license application, the reconsideration would be limited to the findings of fact and conclusions of law that the commission votes upon in denying that application. We also emphasize that applicants or licensees who are seeking reconsideration of a commission decision understand that they have to submit the materials that they believe the commission should reconsider with the request for reconsideration. In other words, we do not recommend that this create a situation where license applicants can basically continue to submit license materials. In addition to those limitations, we would suggest that the commission only allow reconsideration in circumstances where the commission has established a new regulation or policy, in circumstances where the applicant provides new information and good cause as to why this information was not submitted as part of its initial application, and where reconsideration is necessary to prevent or mitigate a miscarriage of justice. For example, the commission's decision was based on erroneous information in the first instance. I would just like to note before I defer to the executive director on describing a bit about the process that we are in the midst of regulatory change. I would also encourage the commission to allow us to maybe mention reconsideration if it adopts the process in the spring round, but then in the fall round, build it out. At that juncture, we'll be able to do so based on a lot of experience we've had.
I think that's, well, thank you. I think it's an important recommendation we'll talk about. But, Mr. Executive Director?
So with that in mind, I guess before you, for your consideration, is an application or a petition for reconsideration based on a previous denial of provisional license. The entity here would be Mass Yield Cultivation, LLC. As the Commission will recall, on April 18th, we received, or the Mass Yield Cultivation submitted an application for licensure. On April 25th of 2019, at a regular meeting, the Commission denied that application. We issued a notice of denial shortly after that meeting. As also, based on our experience to date, what was used as a basis for that denial really stems from the discussion at the Commission meeting. That notice was issued. Based on that notice to the applicant, the Commission did receive a petition for reconsideration of that decision. The basis for reconsideration and the basis of denial was the positive impact plan that the applicant had submitted. From a process standpoint, that notice was received and noticed by the General Counsel, and evaluation was made at that time as to did the applicant provide enough information for the Commission to in fact consider that. Based on that, I received the recommendation that it indeed did. I then referred it to licensing and enforcement to evaluate. The evaluation was really limited to, is there enough information here that the Commission can in fact consider reconsideration? Based on that evaluation, it's now pending before the Commission for your consideration. Again, I think the process here is that it's received by the Commission and noticed through the General Counsel's office. A recommendation is then made to me as, is there something that the Commission can in fact act on in this petition? If the answer were to be no, then in that instance, a notice again would be, from a process standpoint, would be sent to the applicant. If there is in fact enough to evaluate, I will ask the licensing and enforcement team to, in fact, compile that evaluation. To General Counsel Bailey's point, it is not our intention through this exercise to create a new application. It is not our intention through this exercise to reopen, for instance, a petition of that sort, of that nature, but instead to make sure that we're able to effectively summarize and identify the areas that in fact should, or could, I should say, be reconsidered by the commission. So with that in mind, pending before you is that, in fact, is that petition. The applicant in this instance did in fact supply both an amended positive impact plan as well as an amended diversity plan for your
Although
consideration.
diversity was not the
That's
rationale for denial, it was positive impact.
That's correct. And so in that, with that in mind, I think between myself, again, General Counsel Bailey, as well as the licensing and enforcement team, we're happy to field any questions you may have about it. But again, wanted to make sure that it was available for your consideration.
Okay. Thank you very much, and thank you, General Counsel. Just as a process question, or my understanding is that there are two questions before the commission that need to be debated and voted on in sequence. The first is, do we accept the petition for reconsideration? And the second is, if we do accept the petition for reconsideration, what is our decision with respect to the application? Is that indeed your understanding, General Counsel? That's your understanding as well? Okay, great. So I'd like to therefore discuss and debate and ultimately vote on those issues in the sequence I just articulated. So starting with, do we accept the condition or the petition for reconsideration? Do I have comments or questions on that? Then can I ask for a motion, please, to accept the petition for reconsideration for Mass Yield Cultivation LLC, MCN 281392, Tier 2 indoor cultivation? I'm sorry, General Counsel.
I would just suggest respectfully that you also build into that the recognition that the delegation to staff in the first instance of reviewing
Would you just mind
materials and all
articulating a
that.
proposed motion, please?
Basically, that you include in that motion a delegation to staff going forward on reconsideration of the consideration of the petition in the first instance and the review of the materials as appropriate.
Yeah, I'm under the impression that that's already been done.
Well,
That's why I'm a little
okay,
confused by
so,
your recommendation.
yeah, let
I
me just be
apologize.
clear. So at this juncture, we're asking the commission to recognize its authority to reconsider
Right.
its decisions.
Yes.
And going forward, that would include a delegation to staff, as described by the executive director.
Okay. One seems, the reason I'm troubled here, I'm sorry, I apologize if I'm being dense. One seems very specific to this specific petition for reconsideration. One, the second part of what you're suggesting seems more generic to all considerations, all reconsiderations. That's why I'm a little puzzled.
If I
Mr.
may,
Executive Director, if you
Chairman,
could help clarify for this muddled old
I'll-
mind, I'd appreciate it.
I'll do my best. I think in this instance, in fact, what I'm hearing from a discussion standpoint is frankly 3 separate issues, unfortunately.
That's fine. That's why I was coming to that conclusion, so go ahead.
One is in fact process,
Yes.
which is this something the commission would in fact entertain? Second, to your point, is specific to this application. So I think a question before the commission now is, should the commission reconsider the application?
Yes.
If the answer to that question is in fact yes, from a practical standpoint, that application would be deemed to be pending before the commission yet again, and then acting on that. So I think first is process, second would be the reconsideration itself, third would be the actual action on the license.
Thank you.
Or on the application.
Commissioner Doyle, I think, were you about to say something?
Basically, I was about to ask a question that kind of we just fleshed out. But the one thing that I would say is, if we do a motion, and I would say let's perhaps change terminology a little bit, rather than accept, because once we get the petition, it's ours anyway.
Okay.
But
Reconsider.
entertain or consider, yeah.
Okay.
And then the other thing is, the one concern I have with the delegating to staff issue is that I want to know about things.
Right.
And I don't want to find out from outside sources that something has happened. So if we delegate to staff, I want to put a condition on that delegation that the commission is promptly informed.
Thank you. I certainly agree with that. Let's get the process one out of the way. Well, can I ask you, please, to make a motion, please, with respect to process and staff authorization?
Okay. Essentially, for the overarching process, and I don't know that a motion for the process, other than the delegation, is necessary.
So-
Our authority exists as an operation of law.
Yes,
We
so-
have it.
okay.
We don't need a motion to accept it. But for the delegation,
Go, please, just make your motion, please.
yep, I move to delegate to staff to do an initial screening review of petitions for reconsideration on the condition that upon the determination, the commission is promptly notified of the staff's determination.
Thank you very much. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Let the record show that the motion was made by Commissioner Doyle, seconded by Commissioner Flanagan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let the record show the commission unanimously approved the motion. Thank you very much, Commissioner Doyle.
No problem.
Number two, go ahead,
Chairman.
Mr. Executive Director.
We've received a notice for reconsideration.
Wait, we have to now debate whether does that qualify as prompt or not?
Incredibly prompt.
In adherence to the delegated authority, I hereby inform you.
Thank you for the levity, the absolutely necessary levity at this point in the proceedings. Not, excuse me, and all due respect, this is very important, so I don't mean to imply otherwise. Second, I would like to ask for a motion to consider the application for reconsideration. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second? Let the record show that Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner McBride. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show that the commission unanimously approved the recommend, or
The motion
we
to consider.
consider the reconsideration. Thank you very much. Third, I'd like to just, before I ask for a motion, just ask the commission, are you comfortable, given the information provided, to have a discussion, or would you prefer to, go ahead, Commissioner
Yeah,
Doyle?
no, I was just saying, I personally would like to have some discussion.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Not just go straight.
Yeah, no, so
Yeah.
please, do you want to, like,
No, I don't want to start. I just
I'll
want to-
start.
okay, Commissioner Flanagan, please.
Mr. Chairman and members of the commission, I have concerns with the revised positive impact plan. I've made no secret of the fact that I think that this is an important tool that we have to really make an impact on the communities in Massachusetts, and that is the reason why I tend to delve deep into each and every one of them. Specifically, and the lawyers in the room can tell me that I'm wrong, because my training is in therapy. The education on the beneficial and medicinal effects of cannabis. In our regulations, under 500.105, there is, which is our advertising, marketing, and branding, there is a component, which is number 7, that says, advertising, marketing, and branding by a licensee that asserts that its products are safe or represent that its products have curative or therapeutic effects other than labeling required pursuant to Mass General Law 94G, unless supported by substantial evidence or substantial clinical data with reasonable scientific rigor as determined by the commission. It's a prohibited practice. And so I have a concern when a licensee or someone applying to be a licensee, that's a big part of their plan. Because this specifically says that they want to they want to educate the community on the beneficial and medicinal effects in the treatment of PTSD, anxiety, insomnia, and treatment of decreased appetite, and also explain the benefits and why this clinician recommends THC to avoid the use of opiates, alcohol, or crack cocaine. I think given that section of our regulations, that I'm really concerned that this applicant doesn't truly understand what the point of the positive impact plan is, as it pertains to our regulations, and that there can be a perception that we're allowing this to happen, even though it's prohibited in many other versions. And so, given that piece of it, I have severe reservations.
Thank you. Other comments? I'll say, go ahead, Commissioner. I'll comment afterwards.
When I read it, I had similar concerns. I can definitely appreciate the intent there, and I can also appreciate that this is unlike any other positive impact plan that we've seen. So I appreciate that. I think they really tried to think and come up with something creative, and that they are trying to benefit the residents by giving them this information. However, Commissioner Flanagan's right. That is prohibited unless it's supported by substantial evidence or substantial clinical data with reasonable scientific rigor.
Which
So what they
hopefully
would,
one day there will be, but
well, I mean, I think that exists.
Right.
I think it's possible that they could adjust this plan to make that clear. But as it stands now,
no,
I see the concerns.
So thank you both, Commissioner Title and Commissioner Flanagan. First of all, I do think that this represents a good faith effort on the part of the applicant to rectify the concerns that we had when we denied the application. I think it is creative. I completely agree with the concerns that the two commissioners on my right had. Because of the fact that I think that this is a good faith effort, that it represents, in my opinion at least, a substantial improvement over what was submitted originally. And while I do think that we need to change, or that they need to change the issue about promoting the medical benefits, when I look at the other dimensions of their impact plan, I think they're good, and I think they're positive. And I also think, at least in my opinion, that we should observe the precedent that we established in most cases, which is if we have concerns with these, we approve the provisional application with conditions. So my recommendation and my request for a motion is to approve, ask for a motion to approve the staff recommendation subject to conditions around the issues that both Commissioner Title and Commissioner Flanagan addressed. So before I ask that motion, can I ask for comments or thoughts on that approach or any other concerns that people might have on the commission?
I just think
Commissioner Title? Commissioner McBride, I'm sorry.
I just think that it's important to note that the reason that we are reconsidering this, why it has come before us, is due in part to an updating of our own policies. It's my understanding, and that's sort of the assertion that's made. And I think that it's important to give that weight because we are in a position as a commission that is, in real time in many instances sort of putting together what our policies and guidance are going to look like. And rightfully so, have made adjustments to those policies and guidances to make them clearer. I think that we should be giving weight to the fact here that there is a new piece of information upon which the applicant is acting in making this request. So in my mind, that weighs in favor of reconsideration of it.
Mr. Chairman, the one other concern that I
Yes.
have is the placement of the flyers on college campuses. Ironically enough, I was at an event this week for a university near where I live, and they said that they're getting calls daily from companies looking to engage their students, but that they have to be careful because you have an age range of roughly 18 to whatever age that attends classes. So I really want them to reconsider how they're advertising on college campuses.
I support that as well. Commissioner Title, do you have any comments? Then I would like to ask, please, for a motion to approve provisional license for Mass Yield Cultivation LLC, MCN 281392, Tier 2 indoor cultivation, subject to the conditions articulated by Commissioner Flanagan and Commissioner Title, and both on the subject of sponsoring seminars on the beneficial and medicinal effects of cannabis, as well as Commissioner Flanagan's concerns with respect to flyers distributed on college campuses. So can I ask for such a motion, please?
I'm sorry, could I hear the condition one more time?
Yeah, so there's two conditions. If there are more if I missed anything, please let me know the conditions. And I think it was articulated by both Commissioners Title and Flanagan with respect to the issue about sponsoring seminars on the beneficial and medicinal effects of cannabis, given the lack of medical evidence, or ensuring that there is medical evidence for whatever claims are being made in those seminars, and then two, the issue of distribution of flyers on college campuses that could get into the hands of underage persons. Is there a third, Commissioner Towle? Or would you re-articulate?
I don't have a third. I just wanted to just add for clarification that
please.
the conditions would require compliance with our existing regulations.
Yes. Okay. Oh, that's right. And then that was Commissioner.
Sorry, I just have a question about that. Compliance with the existing regulation or the guidance, the updated guidance?
Oh, I was referring to the marketing. That's why I said regulations.
Okay, sorry. I just wanted to understand.
Commissioner
To
Flanagan.
clarify I want the education part taken out.
Okay. I'm I'm perfectly happy with that condition. I don't, but others?
My question is, and I'm sorry, I've read a lot of information in the past 48 hours, and I just want to try to remember, how much does that leave behind, though? when you
Well,
put that
it's
out?
got, they've got seminar, I mean, this is just their summary, not the detail. They've got seminars, 4 seminars for individuals 21 years of age or older from Pittsfield, North Adams, surrounding area on the hydroponic method of farming and or gardening for the cultivation of cannabis. Even inside the item in the plan that's under debate here, which is about sponsoring 2 seminars on the beneficial and medicinal effects of cannabis, there is a second part to that clause, which is to sponsor seminars on how to obtain a medical card in Pittsfield and North Adams, which to me is actually a positive. I would not want that removed. Then we've got donate a minimum of $5,000 to BIO or BIO of Berkshire County, which provides transportation services to individuals where public transportation is unavailable, especially between Pittsfield and North Adams. The organization has been contacted and is willing to accept the donation. So that's C. And then D, give priority to local businesses, suppliers, contractors, builders, and vendors in Pittsfield and North Adams in selecting services for the marijuana establishment, and give priority to residents of Pittsfield and North Adams for employment opportunities. So there's more to it than the medical, and even in the proposed seminars, there's both education on the beneficial medicinal effects of cannabis, but there's also help in terms of how to obtain a medical card. So I think that there's more than just the medical seminars here, and I think we can give guidance if I think we're not yet aligned on whether we don't want any seminars on the medicinal benefits or we want them only to be data-driven. And then there's additionally Commissioner Doyle's request about, that was a previous one.
That was a question, yeah.
Yeah.
That-
So I think so we have, one thing I think that there's clarity on is the issue of distribution of flyers on college campuses as one condition. The second is, as I said, about the medical seminars, and I'm happy to go. My preference, and this is my personal opinion, is where there is medical evidence, I have no problem with people having seminars on that topic where it's supported by medical evidence, rather than just saying outright no. But Commissioner Flanagan, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, just to be clear, I'm not making the motion. That's just my suggestion. So if someone wants to make a motion and actually have different verbiage in it, then
But
that's what we'll consider.
my operating philosophy, I'd like to try to make a motion that I think everybody's going to be comfortable with. So I understand I can make whatever motion, or ask for whatever motion I want. What I'm going to ask for, unless you would prefer me not or have an alternative suggestion, is a motion that says that conducting medical seminars on the beneficial and medicinal effects of cannabis only where supported by medical evidence or scientific evidence. So I guess I'll
My
take...
concern with that is that I would think that they would have given the piece of our regulations, which applicants have to adhere to, they would have submitted that information already. And if licensure doesn't have that, then my question is, where does it then?
I also,
Commissioner McBride?
I mean, I also would I would want to amend that motion.
please.
In large part because we are right now in a position where we are giving very explicit guidance to an applicant about
Okay.
what should and should
Please-
not
please,
be. So I think that the motion should be that provisional license should be granted, taking into consideration the information that has been discussed
Okay.
at the commission.
Look, I think that's great. Would you please make such a motion? Or can I ask you to make such a motion?
I move that the commission vote on whether to grant provisional licensure upon reconsideration of
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
this application, taking into consideration the discussion and deliberation that has transpired today.
I'm sorry, I wasn't playing very good poker there. You said that vote on whether to vote on, as opposed to vote on whether to approve a provisional license?
Vote on whether to approve a provisional
Okay.
license.
Okay,
Can I ask a question?
please.
So with that, and, this is more sort of trying to drill down as to what the obligations are on the applicant, or if we approve it, licensee going forward. Because often when we're doing provisional licenses, we ask them to do something with their positive impact plan, in other words, resubmit. So are we asking them to resubmit based on the conversation that we've had today.
I think if that is the condition that's being suggested, then it should be done with that condition in place.
Okay, so would you do that one more time, please? I'm sorry. I appreciate your
Okay.
humoring me in this.
Move that the commission approve for provisional licensure the application before it, including the condition suggested by or requested by Commissioner Flanagan.
Can I have a second, please? Commissioner?
Point of-
Yeah, yes.
Point of clarification. So there was already a motion on the table that you made, so that's
I will
withdrawn, right?
withdraw that motion. Thank you very much.
I move to amend that motion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then just want to be clear on what
Sure.
our condition is.
Would you like to re-articulate that, or either one of you is welcome to?
I can take a
Please,
stab at
go
it.
ahead, Commissioner Title.
Condition that they resubmit their positive impact plan to make it compliant with existing marketing regulations.
That works for me, okay. So we have a motion. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record show that the recommendation to approve the provisional license for Mass Yield Cultivation LLC, MCN 281392, Tier 2 indoor cultivation, subject to the conditions contained or discussed by Commissioners Flanagan and McBride, was approved by a vote of 4 in favor. Commissioners McBride, Doyle, Hoffman, and Title. Commissioner Flanagan voting nay. Thank you. Okay, we are at 8. We are at 8 minutes of 4. We have this room to 5. We have a few other agenda items, but I need 10 minutes. So let's try to reconvene at 3 minutes after 4. Thank you.